Okay, so let's talk about the application process. Um, a lot of you, those of you who are jumping in and starting to apply and look at different jobs available, will agree with me that the searching for a job, looking for a job is very time consuming. It takes a lot of time, and it's more difficult to find a job, it seems, than to keep one. So let's talk about the different types of applications. So what's really important with your application is to please make sure that you are reading the directions carefully before you just jump in and start filling in all the blanks and shoving your information in. I do have a little story about um, a, a cover letter. There was a job that was posted here with the state. It was posted 4 times. And the fourth time, because I look at all the jobs that are happening everywhere across the state, because I want to know what's going on. The fourth time, at the top of the job description, the recruiter had put in bold letters, please fill out and send a cover letter required. And I said, wow, that's really crazy, because that was the first line of the job description. So I reached out to that person and I said, what's going on with the need for a cover letter? And they had shared that they had posted the position 3 other times, and down towards the bottom in the directions, they had said that once you apply, to make sure that you had the cover letter and that you made sure that you emailed the recruiter with not only your resume, but your cover letter. And the reason why they needed that cover letter is because they wanted to see what the applicant's writing skills. They needed a sample of their writing skills. So please be very aware, especially some of the jobs that are super technical. They're wanting someone that can read directions, that can follow instructions. So read the directions. Make sure you fill things out completely. You can always put NA for not applicable rather than leaving something blank. And then also make sure to keep good records. It's important to have the names of the companies you've worked for, the dates, to know specifically what your job titles, like if you ever promoted up or moved around, and to be able to have your supervisor's information, your past supervisor, whether they're still there or not, the phone numbers, addresses, and whatnot, because some applications ask for all those things. You just never know. Okay, so let's talk about the actual resume. There's a lot to know about doing resumes. I just had a wonderful meeting with a gentleman, and we were discussing the importance of not including anything that ages you, not including your address, like your home address, things like that. So what we want to do, it says include only relevant information. So nowadays we're noticing a shift where maybe a few years ago when you submitted a resume, you could put, it could be just a general resume with all of your experience, your vast accomplishments, any accolades that you have, all of your pieces of paper, your certificates, your licenses, master's, PhD, all of that. And then that was seen as a good thing. An employer would say, okay, you do meet these job requirements and you have these other amazing skills. You'll be a utility player. Let's hire this person. Nowadays, what's happening is AI, so the artificial intelligence, most of companies are utilizing artificial intelligence to scan resumes, to pull out those keywords and to save those resumes for the recruiter to look at. So it's really crucial when you are applying for a position nowadays, it's paramount that you tailor your resume to mirror what that job description is. If, of course, you meet those qualifications, but truly almost plagiaristically, to put the same verbiage into your resume, because that's what they're looking for. And then if a company asks for you to have 5+ years, 10+, but you know you have more, it's really important not to go above and beyond, because you will appear overqualified and they may never ever speak to you. And then I'll go first, say your home address. I would never ever put my home address on anything. And I did see that little note, Tammy. So the thing about anywhere you go, any career force you go to, or if you sit down with 5 different people, someone's always going to give you maybe something a little bit different, different information. So that's just that's unfortunate. I'm sorry you're finding that, but I'll tell you, it is advisable. Do not put your address. You could put the city and state. You could put your city and state. I've heard a lot of mixed feelings about the address. And this is so petty, but I'm going to say it. We have heard of employers or someone looking at a resume and seeing the address, and maybe you're in a zip code that's not as desirable as other zip codes, or maybe someone um, they think, oh, that's going to be too far away for them to commute. Maybe they had someone that they had hired years ago who lived in that same zip code, or and then they were always late to work. So just anything that you can do to prevent any type of bias, it's just really advisable not to put your address. That's just, but yeah, the city I think would be good. Okay, so let me jump. I'm going to go back to where I was. Good questions though. I think that's great. So mirroring your resume to match the job description. Don't do all these extra bells and whistles. But of course, before you apply for anything, please go and research the company and make sure that they match your their vision statement and their mission statement, that it mirrors who you are, and that if you could see yourself staying there and climbing the ladder, I would then of course apply. But please mirror the job description in your resume. So we're going to talk about just the basics of putting your resume together, the importance of targeting. We just discussed that a little bit, kind of how to do accomplishment statements. And then we're going to talk a little bit about kind of cover letters and the basic information to include there. All right. Okay. Is there a perfect resume? No, absolutely not. There are many types of strategies, it says. So let's talk about the best practices. So it's sample area LinkedIn. Okay. Oh, this is totally true. So it says that you have to be comfortable with it. You have to be comfortable with your resume so that you can sell it. So remember that anything that you put in to the resume, that's your trying to get the employer to buy in. You're trying to attract them to be able to see what it is you have to offer. Make sure that you can articulate what it is that you've put down on that piece of paper, that you can share examples about past work experiences. That's a big part of the interview. Remember when someone calls you, whether they're doing a phone screening or they've invited you in for a physical interview, a lot of interviews are just over video now for teams and such. But remember, if you are invited for an interview or for a conversation, they already like you. They already like your skills. So just keep in mind that you need to be able to reflect whatever it is you've put on that piece of paper. You need to be able to show up and to actually be able to provide that all of those amazing capabilities that you've listed. Because I've seen people, well, I'll tell you something funny. When I started my job here, my supervisor on my first day, so he met me, he's at a different location. So he met me here and then opened up the laptop because it was in a box and whatever. So I plugged everything in and I got going, and he sat back and he said, well, now we'll get to see if you do know how to work and navigate Teams and all the Microsoft Office and blah, blah, blah. Because I think they had other people that weren't necessarily computer savvy or didn't like the technology. And so that was really funny because I mean, truly, I had said that I could, and I did. He's like, oh, well, that's good. So it just kind of made me laugh. And then also, I'll tell you, I had a job with a county here in Minnesota, and they didn't use any of their technology. They didn't use any of it. So they didn't use Teams. You couldn't send messages back and forth to people. They didn't use the calendar system. They didn't send invites for meetings. And in my past job history, I'm used to, I mean, everything is done in Microsoft. I need to know where you are, what you're doing, where we're going, and everything is through invitation. Everything is written. electronically. And so and when I sat down and asked the supervisor about it, because I kept asking for people to send me a meeting invite, they would just come by my desk and say something. And I said, can you send me an invite? And then I was told very blunt to my face, they said, we don't use the technology here. We write things down and we're not going to start. And that was really difficult for me. So I went back and I reread the job description. It didn't say anything about technology. But then other job descriptions, they'll say what's important. Really take that to heart. That's another part of reading job descriptions and paying attention. And then um, even in your interview, you can ask about the importance of, like, if you are a computer person and you are someone that's computer savvy and you really utilize that, some people in your profession, your past professions, that was seen as a sign of excellence and it was required. So just be on the lookout to read through the job descriptions and look at the company's information, because you never know. And that's where I mentioned about you have to be comfortable with what you can do and that you can sell it, because first day it was, let's see if you know how to do it. And I did. So, but then I'm still learning every day. I certainly don't know everything. Um, okay, so let's jump over here. Oh my goodness, these always make me laugh. Okay, resumes are. All right, so we have, so it's a review of your qualifications, the essential information only. Please, I know we're so excited about all of these amazing accomplishments and we've really done some great things, but remember, you don't want to be overqualified. You don't want the hiring manager to look at you as someone who could be their successor. Just put in what they're looking for, get in there, keep your head down, learn lots of stuff, network, and then see where it goes. But don't take all the gems out of your little jewel box and give everything away. Just keep everything contained. Um, and then, okay, R is review of qualifications. E, essential information only, skills based. Very important. I think it's so crucial nowadays to not have any type of a summary at the beginning, but to have, some people put it at the top. I've seen it towards the bottom as well, like a skills section, a bullet point. Um, and then the unique, what makes you special? The marketing, you are the product, market yourself. The E for effective, you need to make sure that you get noticed. And then the specifics targeted to each job. So I also want to mention that, when you're applying for jobs and when you're changing your resume every time, sometimes you just glaze over, like literally, because when you're looking at the same information over and over again, you see the same thing, and you're going to be immune to any errors that you might have, in whether it's grammar, or it could be, oh my goodness, it could be spacing, it could be anything. So I do encourage you to have your local career force, or you can set up an appointment, like a one-on-one appointment with someone virtually. But I would encourage you to have several people look at your resume, because you never know who's going to see something that you may not. And then, what's also really crazy is when someone says, oh yeah, your resume looks good. Did they really look at it? And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with you, that you wouldn't have a perfect resume, but whose resume is going to be absolutely perfect. I really like it when someone will take a few minutes and then maybe say, oh, did you think about hyphenating this? Or, oh, it might be better if you remove that, because they really paid attention. To right away say everything looks great, I kind of see that as a brush off. Oh, Kyle, welcome. We're ready.
Yeah, we had a question come up in the chat, and it kind of is related to what you're talking about right now. Somebody just made a statement that they had their resume updated with a career force staff member, and that was helpful. The only problem is they haven't been getting any responses to that resume. They lengthened it a little bit, made it 2 pages, and they're just not sure if they should change it or what they should do. And I think it goes back to what you were saying. You need to be comfortable with your resume. Anybody you ask for an opinion on a resume is going to give you one. Keep in mind that the most important opinion is the person reviewing it and determining if you get an interview. But if you're not comfortable with the resume, you might want to change it again. Um,
Mhm.
Also, with your resume, if you're submitting the same resume for job after job without changing it, that's probably a mistake.
You
And Jack
have
is going to
to.
talk later on
Yeah.
about customizing your resume for each app or each job that you're
Yeah.
applying for. So
Yeah,
that would
absolutely. And then, but also if you've had one person at CareerForce look at it, have several other people look at it. And it's have another CareerForce person look at it, or two or three. And and for us, it's not about, oh, one person at this CareerForce did this and another person at this CareerForce did that. It's about everybody has a different background and different experiences, and some people may want you to highlight one thing over another. But it is, like Kyle said, you do need to feel comfortable with it, but it's so crucial that if you are not truly putting in what they're looking for, the specifics, you're putting in extra stuff. They don't want the extra and they just don't have time for it. And I don't want that to sound insensitive, but it's just kind of where we're at right now. That people are just very efficient and they're utilizing the AI. Okay, let's do, okay, resume basics. What time is it? Perfect. Okay. So you want to keep it brief. It's I love that it says preview of coming attractions. So it's just letting them know about that you do have the skills. Again, mirroring the job description, but letting them know something about your history, other, gently put in other information about things that you've done that don't trump the job itself, but it's letting them know who you are and what you're about so that they're excited to actually talk with you and to meet with you. And so the goal is to get the interview. That's totally true. You need to be able to get the interview, get past, and not just be a piece of paper. Oh, this is a crazy visual. Okay. So there's two different resumes here. So the one on the right-hand side, oh, so that's going to be your right-hand side. So there is, see how it's just chunks? It's just written in like paragraph form. So that is a resume that if you see let me put this down here. Oh, the one on the left, sorry. So the one on the left has the resumes written in chunks, like paragraph form. And when you see the different coloring, this is actually a system that showed that the red and the yellow spots are the heat concentrated parts of the resume where the recruiter, where their eyes were focused on. So you can see on the left-hand side, they start to read it at the top, and then they really kind of lose interest towards the end because it's just a chunk of information. But then on the right, you can see how, they read a little bit at the top and they kind of breezed through, and then they were able to just gradually just go down and really appreciate what was there because of how it's sectioned off and its bullet points, and it's just much friendlier. Oh, I always like that one. Okay, let's see. Kyle, are you coming back? What was that? Oh, okay, here we go. I'm having technical difficulties.
Yeah, actually, we had a question about font size in here, and I think I prefer 10 to 12. As you can see, I'm wearing reading glasses. My eyes aren't as great as they used to be. For me, the bigger the better, but you do want to get your information in there. Anything smaller than a 10, many people have difficulty with that.
Would you put, that's perfect, Kyle. Would you put a blurb in there? I sent you this morning that little um, in Teams about the different types of font that are the three different types that are preferred. Would you put that in there? Just cut and paste that?
Sure,
Okay,
sure. I
awesome.
will track that down and put it in just a moment.
Thank you. Yeah, I think between like 10, 11, 12 is standard. Um, and then Kyle's going to put, I did a little search this morning on the types of fonts that were most commonly looked for by AI when they're scanning resumes. So what does it say here? Make it scannable. Okay, so use bold or capital letters to highlight information. Please don't go crazy with your bold. Please do not go crazy with your bold. Um, just like experience, skills, education. And don't put any of the extras. Sometimes people just get super, super fancy. And they have all these little boxes and little fun italics and no, oh no, don't put a picture. It's just don't make it too complicated. Yes, sir.
So Jack, we have one person asking about your thoughts on not using color in a resume. Would that include shading something, maybe a light gray, just to highlight a title?
I don't think that would be the end of the world. I think it would be fine. I mean, I wouldn't have your resume be just well, the shading though, I wonder if AI would pick that up. I don't know if I would actually, because I wouldn't want to. I think because of AI and how sensitive computer systems are, and that's really what we have to get past to be able to get to the recruiter nowadays. I don't think I would shade now that I wouldn't change the shading. I would just very gently bold like education and whatnot. Because remember, it's not about, you got to get through the computer first. AIs are the number one thing you have to get through. That's a good question though. Okay, so the resume basics, you do want to be honest. Focus on your accomplishments, on the accomplishments that the job is asking for. Don't upsell. Target it to each position. I've just been preaching that like crazy to make sure that you are changing it, even though it's very time consuming. That you're changing that resume each time for each position. Overqualified? Question mark? Then it is not targeted. Remember, no bells and whistles. You can do it. And then once you get in there and you get past that 6 months, and then you figure out who the power players are and who the different individuals are, then you can network and move around from there. Okay, choose a format. Resume basics. Choose a format. The top 1/3 of the resume is the most valuable. That's the truth. Although I think, what do you think about that, Kyle? I think I was talking with someone earlier about like objectives and summary statements really are kind of fading away. What's your opinion there?
I guess from my standpoint, I do agree that the top third of the page, the first page, is critically important. That's where you really want to hook your audience, I guess. I like to use a professional summary. Um, I guess each person's a little bit different. I've gone away from using an objective on most resumes I help with, but a professional summary listing the specific job title that
Brief.
you're applying
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
I like to see that in there. And just maybe a sentence or two highlighting what skills, one or two things that are going to be most pertinent to this job. And for me, I look at their job description or the job posting. I'll try to decipher what's most important to them. And if I have that, I want that up front. I want to present that first. So
Well, and I think if it's a brief objective, a brief summary, please don't make it paragraph after paragraph. Also, I think what's really huge is I would recommend, again, you see a job um, that you're attracted to, it feels like who you are, that you could see yourself in that position. Go to the company's website, look at their mission statement and their vision, make sure that that also mirrors kind of your character and what you represent. And then you know what? In that summary, you could put similar verbiage to what their mission statement and what their vision are because or what their vision statements because that will show that you're like-minded people and that they would read that and recognize, oh, that's who we are, that's what we represent. It's kind of a little extra. Uh-oh, Kyle's back.
I do have a question here from Jason. He's
Okay.
asking if the main goal is to make your resume AI readable and friendly, what format file should we use? Would it be PDF, a text file, others? What are your thoughts, Jack?
I don't think I have a thought on that. What do you think, Kyle? I think that
You know, I think on a lot of them, if you go onto their websites, they will suggest what you want to use. If you look at the different types of AI, um, I still tend to fall back to Word a lot.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's a little older, but I think it works with most. So
And I agree with what you said about looking to look at what because the actual job description may tell you, or when if you're online and you're applying, it may tell you that it wants a PDF or it wants. So just be open towards being able to accommodate what they're looking for. And that, again, could be a following instructions, or they could be checking to see if you know how to switch up and you know how to use different types of technology. Yeah, I kind of like the comfortable word as well. So error-free, edit, edit, edit. Please have somebody else look at it. And be open-minded to if someone, even if it's one of your really good friends, someone says, well, I don't know about this part. Be open-minded to someone having a gentle suggestion for you because they want you to succeed and not try to not be too defensive or sensitive because you know they want you to succeed. And I know when we're looking for a job, it's just a really tough time of emotions and a lot of dynamics. So just remember, people want the best for you. Okay, the different resume formats. Okay, so there, oh, this is so good. Kyle, can you put the link in the chat? And also, I was going to mention that we are going to send out tomorrow. We're going to send out there's an email, could be towards the middle, latter part of the day, but it's an email to everybody that has a link for today's recording, and it's going to have just incredible resources. Oh, Kyle, I didn't have you introduce yourself. Kyle, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Kyle. I will be moderating the workshop today. Normally, I introduce myself at the beginning, but hey, sometimes things go wrong. There's an old analogy, it talks about, you're looking at a duck on the water and you just see this nice, calm duck floating along, and underneath, they're paddling and thrashing all over. Well, that's what we were doing getting ready for this workshop today. There's a lot of thrashing and getting ready going on. So don't worry about it, Jack. Not a problem. Which link were you asking me to put up for you? I
Oh,
missed that part.
so there's the link for there's so many. I'm so excited. I get excited about the links. There's a link for the different types of resume formats and all the different resume. We can we'll just send the slew in the email for sure. But we have this wonderful, oh, let me make that go away. We have in the email that Kyle will send tomorrow, there's so I have gone and broken down, someone can say, oh, go to the Career Force website, there's lots of resources, but then you say, well, how do I find everything? Because you have to click here and click there. So broken down information as far as like for resumes, cover letters, different types of accomplishment statements and so forth. But there's different types of resumes. Of course, there's the chronological, so you're going off of organizing by your job history. There's the functional skill-based, and then there's the combination. Depends on how a combination of both of those mixed in. So it depends on what you're comfortable with. It also depends on, sometimes an application could actually ask for that. Oh, let me close that. So in the links that Kyle's going to include, it will have that. And then there's also under other links that we're going to send that shows you like Career Force One, that has an option where you can go and there's resume views and such. I'm ready, Kyle.
Yep. No, I was just going to state that the email I send out tomorrow will include the slides, the presentation. We have been having some difficulties with our editing material, so if it's not the video of this particular workshop, it will be one from a prior week, same topic, all the same materials. All the materials we're talking about today will be included in that. So don't worry about copying something out of the chat. It'll also be sent in the email tomorrow. So kind of sit back and relax, and we'll go from there.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, we're doing this kind of a little hodgepodge mixed up today. Okay, so whichever format you use, choose a format that tells your best story. You need to be comfortable with it so that you can explain it. If you have a resume that someone's put together for you and they wanted to move this here and move that there and fix it so it looks like blah, 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 and then you go in to have your interview and they want you to explain, your resume or explain your experience and you're looking at your resume yourself and you didn't like it to begin with what the person told you to do, you're going to really fumble that interview because you don't feel comfortable. So just keep that in mind. So again, no matter what the format, target the job you're applying for. Oh, I am just really wearing that out, but it's so important. Okay. All right, so this is an example of a chronological resume. Oh, you see at the top, there is no address. Now I would, instead of having it be 3 lines at the top where it has the phone number and the email and the LinkedIn, I would probably put all 3 of those on the second line. But this is an example, I would say maybe 2 pages max on your resume if you could. I would not go over 10 years if you can help it. If you've worked at a company for 20 something years, that's different. But so this just shows it's just very simple. And you see even here, uh, it doesn't even have the bold for the summary or for the job description. So bold isn't always necessarily important. Notice that there are no dates to show their age for education. That's really crucial. And then, yeah, the chronological is just so clean. Now, this is our functional. Again, at the top, doesn't have any type of address. And then it just has the objective, the job title, employer, subject. And then this is just a little bit different because at the bottom it has your education. It just flows a little bit differently. I think I prefer our other resume. What is that? Kyle, please include. Okay. Kyle, people are getting after you. I would never include a GPA because it's just unless someone asks for it, because I think that that also ages you. Because sometimes I think the younger crowd includes their GPA. I just would not. I would not. Okay, so this is a combination resume. So then it has a little bit of everything in it, which I think looks nice as well. I'm really not a fan of let me go back here over here. I don't like the functional as well. I'm not a huge fan. Okay, let's see. So here's just a basic resume, and they have the address in there. Shame on them. We are actually getting new presentations and slides, so some of these things are going to be updated. So that is, I'm going to go past that. So it shows at the top, we're going to look at your identifiers. Do not put your address. Somewhere Minnesota, this is where you'd want to be. Your name, somewhere, your identifiers for people to be able to get in touch with you. Again, I wouldn't stack them all up. I'd put it, if you're going to do your name and then your location and then like do the 3 phone number, email, and then your LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, can we talk about real fast? Your email. So please look at your email and really critically look at your email. Is your email hotmama@yahoo? We have seen that. Are you Harley Do Dad at Gmail? I would encourage you, if you have an email that's kind of playful, that you make one that's specifically for your job search. Also, if you have your date of birth, some people like they were born in 78 or maybe in 2014, I would make one that's specifically for your job search. And this is, I had this, just one second, Kyle. I had this very sweet woman. She was in here in the office and we were just laughing and talking. We had the best time. And then I looked at her email and it was like Jane Doe 420 at Yahoo. And I said, well, and so, honestly, I just found out what that meant a few years ago. Was a really sheltered child. And so I asked her, when is your birthday? And she says, oh, it's April 20th. She didn't know. She was totally clueless. And so I kind of let her know and we changed her email. But just so be aware of your email and if you need to change it. Please always check your voicemail. Make sure your voicemail is professional as well. It might be cute with the kid giggling in the background or screaming something. May not be cute for a recruiter calling you. Please keep your voicemail where people can leave you messages. When you answer the phone, please be cheerful, even though it may be a robocall. Please answer all calls, even if it's not a recognizable number, because it could be a recruiter that lives somewhere else. And you can always just excuse yourself from that call and block that person. But these things are so important. Okay, go, Kyle.
Sure, we've got a couple of questions just
Okay.
related to content. One was in relation to education that is kind of dated. Say, for example, like me, my education, I graduated from college in the mid 80s. It's a little bit dated. Should we include that? And I guess I'm of the opinion that at least list that you graduated, if it's from a bachelor's degree program or an associate degree program. I don't know that I would list a lot of what you were actually doing content-wise in college. Um, I like to, with older applicants, I guess, I like to have an education slash training section. And I'll concentrate more on trainings that I've done, things that I've done to update my skills. And then we had another question.
To update your skills that are applicable for the position they're applying for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think it was Dan working in IT. He has 10 years of experience. He talks about that a little bit more. And then older experience that he did want to put on there, he'll shorten it. He'll maybe put one bulleted item. And I think that's a good piece of advice. It shows what you were doing, but it doesn't waste the valuable space you have on your resume. Use that space that you have to highlight what's going to get you the job. And yes, that job from 10, 12, 14 years ago might be nice. It shows what you were doing, shows continuity, but it's not what's going to land you the job. Similar situation, if you're looking for an IT job, you have IT experience from 10 years ago till 6 years ago, and from 4 years ago till the present, that's great. But that 2-year gap in there, if you were doing something else, but it was a full-time job, I'd list that job, but I wouldn't go into detail as to what you were doing. Let them know that you were doing something. You don't have to emphasize what isn't going to get you noticed. So
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to jump into all these slides. Thank you so much, Kyle. Okay, I would just, people keep making comments about the address. I would not include your address. If you choose to include it, then I don't think it could be a deal breaker, but anything that could prove to be a bias against you, I think I would steer clear, but totally up to you. Okay, so then the next portion here, is it doing that again? Okay, so we're going to talk about the objective. I'm not a fan of this type of objective, but some people like to do that. So keep in mind, if you put in the mechanical, so they did mechanical engineer, creative and motivated engineer with more than 10 years, please only put the time frame, the more than 10 years, if the job that you're applying for asks for 10 years or greater, so that you're not aging yourself out. And then on the next one, it's talking about, okay, it's talking about what skills you had, so that you were the engineer from this time to this time in the city. And then that's where you do the bullet points as far as what your responsibilities were there, and what your skill sets were that allowed you to perform that role, that would correlate with the job that you're currently applying for. And then our next one, the engineering qualifications. So this is, again, where you would look at the job description and see what it was asking for. I would also look at, again, the company, look at their other, I like to go to LinkedIn and look up companies, and I like to look at their people and see what their job history had been and what their skill sets are, especially if you can find the person you're going to be interviewing with or other people on the team if it's a panel, and you can see their areas of expertise and their interest levels, so that you can kind of get in there and prove that you're a like-minded person that would be able to jump into a team. Again, only if you have those skills or interests. But then there's also one of the links that we're going to send you. It's Career One Stop. It's amazing. One of the things that it has is you can go search under Explore Careers for the different keywords or different job titles that you've had in the past. And then it'll show you different qualifiers and different kind of key statements that you might want to include, again, if it is going to mirror the job description. I feel like I'm just wearing that out. Okay, this is the education piece that Kyle had spoken about. Just don't include any years. And then if it's more like training, sometimes people have been grandfathered into jobs. Maybe years ago, you didn't have to have a certain type of education. I know that the state now has jobs where you don't have to have a degree necessarily if you have a certain number of years of experience. Okay, so other resume sections. So things that you might include are your military experience. That might be something that would be beneficial. A lot. In fact, I think I would definitely include that, especially like with state jobs. Certain jobs they do a point system, and so you would receive extra points. Volunteer experience only if it's pertinent to the job. Leadership, professional memberships, awards. Again, all of these things only if it's a requirement for the position. Okay, so let's look at the different accomplishment statements. There's a wonderful link in the career force that talks about accomplishment statements that will be in tomorrow's email. So you want to have action words. You want to talk about the details like the tasks and skills that you had performed and kind of what the outcomes and results were. That's what an accomplishment statement is. I try to not use the word I. I think that that's really important in how you present yourself. So let's do, we get to do an activity. Okay. Task versus accomplishment. Are we ready? Okay. So let's look at this. Where am I? I'm having took an allergy pill this morning. Okay. So task versus accomplishment. So there are, let's talk about the resume bullet points. Should be accomplishment statements. Okay. So anything that you have that's going to be an accomplishment needs to be in a bullet point. So when we look at kept inventory or you called customers, which one of those in the chat would be a task? Because on your bullet points, that needs to be more of an accomplishment. And then it could be both. So I like it. I'm looking at the chat. No, that's cold customers would be more of a task. And the kept inventory. I kind of think that both of those, I kind of feel that they're both tasks. I don't necessarily see an accomplishment there. So this is exactly, this is the one on the left is the task. So yes, I kept inventory and I called customers. But if you were going to verbalize it as an accomplishment, that's where you had managed daily inventory of over 500 classifications of medical supplies. This is the part that you're selling yourself. The accomplishment is the sale. So called customers, grew client base from 0 to 70 within 2 months by effectively using cold call techniques. So this is where you're going to say, hey, I kept inventory and this is the result of how well I did that part of my job. Cover letters, don't skip this step. It's another chance to market yourself to the employer. People are divided on this. Again, I would read the job description. If it asks for a cover letter, I would totally do one. Sometimes when you're online applying, it'll ask for you to download your resume, and then it'll ask for other documentation. If it has a cover letter tab on there, I would create a cover letter and put that in there. Okay, cover letter content. So you want to, oh, have you guys used Chat GPT? There's Grammarly and other ones as well, but you can use Chat GPT to help write cover letters. You can put the job description in there and it can give you examples of um, interview questions. It can do amazing things. I've used it to help write cover letters and things. It's fabulous. So you want to state the intent for the type of job you're applying for, indicate why you would be a good candidate, what you're interested, what your interest is, and then about what skills you have that would make you be able to jump in and be an immediate, provide immediate impact. And definitely include a thank you for their taking the time to even review your information. It's really important because a lot of people don't do that anymore, and I think that personal touch can go a long way. And then ask about following up. Let them know that you'll reach out. You don't have to do this part, but you can say, look forward to hearing back from you. Yeah, I'll follow up with you shortly. Thank you for this opportunity to submit my application. Then, okay, so this is where I want to tackle. Oh, I know, I just make these little sounds and stuff all the time. I don't know why I do that. It's part of my charm. Okay, so on the resume reviews, so this is where, again, it's so important that we want to encourage you to please reach out to your local career force and even reach out. You don't always have to you can reach out to your local career force and then set up a time to come see them. Maybe if you don't want to do something in person, maybe it's easier for you to do virtual, then they can do that. Go to the career force events and look at the different classes, like you signed up for this. I would even sign up for the same class with different presenters because each person has a different background and their own savvy of how they communicate with you, and you don't know who you're going to speak with it where it resonates. So I would encourage you to sign up for all sorts of things and meet with lots of people, to the job clubs, um, and then just network. Please don't make networking. I talk to with a lot of people that say they're networking with their friends and former colleagues. Please don't put the burden of your past coworkers or friends or on them to help you find a job because people are busy. I think that it's a lot of times it's good to find jobs that way, but remember, people are always going to cheer you on and tell you that they're looking or helping, but remember, that's really, you need to send out your applications and you need to go to the networking events and you need to get out and meet people. Kyle, you were going to come on. I'm ready. What you got?
No, I was just trying to catch you before you got too far past some of the questions we had. Questions are coming in fast and furious. We love those guys. I do want to apologize in advance if we don't get to all your questions today. Definitely sign up for an appointment with a career force
Right,
staff, and I'll be putting that link, how to do that,
right.
back in the chat at the end of the workshop today. But just a couple of questions back to content. We have one that I have a skills section under summary statement and technical skills on the second page, 1 to 2 word statements. How many would you suggest to include? I'd like to address this a little bit. When you use the skills section, again, use what I would call the prove it process. Don't just list a skill. List the skill, relate it, or show how you've used it and relate it to the job. It could be something, um, pick a skill, any skill. One we see often is great communication skills or excellent communicator. That doesn't really tell them anything. But if you put excellent communication skills and then follow it up by created mass emailings, sent mass emailings to 4,000 customers monthly. Tell them what you did to use that skill. It emphasizes a little bit more. When you list 1 or 2 words in your skill section, it almost looks like you're copying and pasting part of the job description into it. And that's not what they're looking for. The number of skills. I've seen people put 20 skills on a resume. And what happens, if you remember when we were talking about when you're blocking sections of a resume, the bigger it is, the less attention they're going to pay. So if you put 20 skills on there, they might read 2 or 3 of them. I like to see 4 to 6, maybe 7 at most. What's your thought, Jack?
I want to make sure that we can jump in and answer as many questions as possible. I just
Sure.
shot you a little Teams note. So I don't know if I want to answer this because I differ from you. I think that the skills is a part where people need to be able to just glance at it, see what you're capable of, and then during the interview, they can ask you where you utilize those skills. For me, putting an example of how you did it makes your resume bigger and wordier. So I'm kind of the opposite of that. So
Okay. And
yeah, yeah,
like we said earlier, you're going to get different opinions.
yeah.
Make sure you use what you're comfortable with.
Right.
Okay.
What is our next? We are limited time. Let's go ahead and jump on in. You've pushed mute. What
Sorry
were the other
about that. I
questions?
did.
Uh-huh.
I think you've addressed most of them. And again, if we don't get to them, definitely set up an appointment. And I'm going to let you take it away, Jack.
Oh, well, I had seen other questions in there that I wanted to get. Let me see if I can get to the chat myself. Let's see. Okay, so what about, is there anything just right this second that people would like to know? Let's see, resumes. I think that's a good number. I think 8 is a very good number. So I do want to talk about the Chat GPT. So, and again, people use Grammarly as well, but really and truly, and it's a completely free. You can sign up for a higher level if you want, or you can just do. I just do the free option, but you can copy the job description and go into ChatGPT and say, please create um, oh, you could say, what are interview questions for this job description and put it in there. You can type into Chat GPT, what should I ask during my interview uh, for this job with using this job description, and then it'll give you examples of things that you can ask the employer. You can write prepare cover letter for this type of job and then put the job title. It's really remarkable what you can do with the Chat GPT. And I think it's really important also on your resume to please when you've applied for a job, I would not hesitate to follow up in the next, I'd give them probably at least a week. But you can look people up. You can shoot, of course, people shoot off emails all the time or send something on LinkedIn, but don't be afraid to find that person, find their first and last name, do some research to locate them, and then even call the phone tree. It's kind of old fashioned, but to call the phone tree, you can type in their first and or last name, whatever it asks for, and just get the person on the phone. And you can say, hey, totally um, unconventional me reaching out. I know you're busy. I've applied for such and such job. Do you have just a second for me? This may be a total game changer for you. Could the person say, no, this is not how we work, go through HR? Then you might know that they're not very personable. That may not be the best company for you. Or they could say, hey, yeah, absolutely, and talk with you for a few minutes. It's possible that the person that had that position before wasn't personable, or maybe they didn't take initiative. It could be a real really make you stand out to where that person does reach out to HR, or maybe that is the HR person. They said, hey, I like that this individual took the time and took the initiative and they were resourceful to find me. Don't hesitate to do that. And then also, I think it's really crucial to keep it like a daily log and daily lists of the people that you're reaching out to, what you're finding, what you're applying to, so that you can go back to it. I know people that have created literally Excel spreadsheets. I've seen that. What is anything else you guys want to cover? I want to make sure not the same. Covers anywhere. Look at that, Priscilla. I know I have friends that are they just love Excel. Um, Excel and we're a work in progress. Some parts of it I like. And then also, please, look at the different, so back in the day, when you would see a job title, you could really look at the job title and you would know what that job entailed. We're finding that nowadays the job title, if you look at the description, doesn't have anything to do. It's just bizarre. So you might be couple of different things. You might be you might be just honed in on a specific job title or keywords, and you might be missing out on amazing opportunities because the job title doesn't appeal to you. So take the time to even Google the Career Force One Stop that we're going to send you. Again, it shows different job titles and different resources, but I would go to Google and I would put in um, jobs with and put different types of skills that you have and then see what it lists and go look up those people on LinkedIn and look at their backgrounds and histories and their certifications and education and use that as a resource. And I would type in job, you could put in search for, and then your job title openings, and then that'll bring up different types of job titles that are similar to that you may not have considered. That kind of sounds crazy, but we have really noticed an uptick in the fact that jobs have different titles that don't necessarily make sense to what the actual description is. Okay, Kyle, come back. What else do you have for us?
Okay, let me get back to my questions. Um, we had a couple of questions relating to how far back to go in the experience section. A couple of
Yeah.
caveats to that. One person has only had one job in the last 11 years. Um, in that case, I would use that job and I maybe would put another one. What are your thoughts?
Well, is that person staying in the same industry? So I think that it depends on are they pivoting their career? I think that of course you would have to include that job if that's the only one you have. And then one of the links that we're going to put on there, oh gosh, it's under free training. But it's amazing. We have these links that we're going to send under training that will show you, like if you wanted to upskill and improve your Word, your Excel, there's Canva, there's so many things you could include on your resume that during your downtime that you had been working on advancing such and such skills and whatnot, just to kind of give you a little boost. Oh, so does everybody, say it real fast, does everybody know about the dislocated worker program? Game changer, it's so important. I don't like the title, dislocated worker, but so this is a program that the state has put together for people that have lost their job to no fault of their own. If you're on UI, then you already qualify. But even if you are not on unemployment, please go and talk to your local career force about the different programs. There's so many programs that could help elevate you. But this is a program where you are able to still receive your UI, but then the state pays for you to be able to, if you want to pivot your career and learn a different skill, learn a new trade, if you want to pursue that, some sort of professional certificate or license. We've had people complete their bachelor's or their master's, and it's really an open field. And then also, if you've ever thought about starting your own business, there's another program that branches off of, it's called the Climb program that branches off of the dislocated worker. One of the reasons why we really, really want you to make contact with that career force is because anytime you have a career force, it's the state and it's a local either nonprofit agency, or a lot of times it's the county that we're partnering together, and all of the knowledge that those entities have. If you come in and you talk with somebody and you meet with them and tell them about your experience, they may have resources and avenues that you never even knew were possible that could really impact your life in profound ways. I do see that it's 11. I do want to say this. So I have gone through the UI process. I've had really interesting things happen in my career over the years. I want to tell you that where you are right now, no matter how it is that you came to be here. Maybe you were laid off. Maybe you were fired. It was a bad situation. Maybe the company closed. There's so many different dynamics. Where you are right now, it is temporary. You're probably going to have extreme highs and lows with the emotions of what's going on. Allow yourself to grieve and to go through that frustration and the anger and all the emotions, but don't camp out there. Okay. Talk to yourself like you're 5 years old to tell yourself, no, deflect the negative, stay positive. Even in those I used to have these really dark, sad moments where I'm like, I can't believe I can't get hired and I couldn't find what I wanted. And it really starts to eat away at you. And it's temporary. Please connect with the career force around you, connect with good people around you, reach out, be open-minded to hear what people have to say. But know that it's totally possible that you were taken out of the situation you were in because it was not good for you. And you're supposed to go and do something else that's really going to elevate you to just a happier, better place. And it's just going to impact your life in a beautiful way. So stay positive. Remember it's temporary. And think about the times in your past when you thought, how am I going to overcome some huge obstacle, something big that happened to you in the past? And you did it, and you're here. So just do one day at a time, connect with people, be open-minded, and stay positive. Because I'm telling you, 5 to 6 months from now, you'll be in a different place. You can always pay your bills late. We want you here and we want to see you succeed and thrive, and you're going to. Please reach out to your local career force. We'd be happy to talk with you. And we're just really, really thrilled that you took time for this workshop today. Just do one day at a time. It will get better and it'll be amazing, actually. Okay. Sending you lots of happy, warm vibes. Don't be a stranger. Reach out. Kyle, anything on your end? Kyle.
No, I'm back. I just reiterate, I will be sending out an email tomorrow. I've got a list of resources. I've been taking notes that I'll include with that with our regular stuff too. And if you are looking for something and you don't get it in that email, definitely reach out to your local
Yeah.
Career Force Center. I will have a link on that email on how to go about doing that too. Thanks, everybody. Have a
All
good
right.
day.
Bye.